Hello everybody, it's Mauro Tejas here, and today I would love to go through the 7 fragrances in my collection that I do think are best suited for winter months. But before diving into them, I would love to just tell you that if you like this kind of content, to like this video and subscribe and click the bell so you can get notified when I upload a new piece of content. That would actually help me a whole lot. And if you have any kind of advice or suggestion or idea, please, you're free to comment down below. So without any further ado, let's go down into it. Number 7, which opens this top, Versace Eros. This very fragrance is on the top of the list because of the fact that it actually has kind of a fresh opening, if you will. It has this note of apple, but that note fades actually pretty quickly. It's a fragrance that, in my humble opinion, is not linear at all. It's one that I would actually recommend if you like clubbing, for example, or if you have this sort of not very formal events. I would actually start with Versace Eros. And by the way, it still has good projection. It's not a watered down version of the original. So let's move on to number 6 in this top, which is a fragrance from the house of Klein, and that makes it a pretty affordable option. And this one is Klein 1 Shock. And okay, this shouldn't come as a shock for you, pun intended, but it's actually a pretty amazing non-linear fragrance. And if you're into the notes of tobacco and cherries, you are going to actually love this one. It's a fragrance that when you first spray it, you have to let it sit for about 5 or 10 minutes, and from that point onwards, the magic starts to happen. It's actually, as I stated before, not linear. So you're going to encounter many faces, if you will, of this fragrance. So pretty good option. It's more suited for informal wearing, but amazing nonetheless. Klein 1 Shock. Let's go or move on to the 7-6 number 5 spot, which is a fragrance that I very much love and actually grew on me quite a lot. And this one is called 1 Million Lucky by the house of Paco Rabanne. This fragrance actually represents, in my humble opinion, to my nose, a night out with your friends, going to the cinema, going and grabbing a bite somewhere, walking down the street with your friends, having a good time, and basically doing something fun. This fragrance is it. It's one that I would actually recommend you purchase in the biggest size, which is 200 ml, like this bottle. And yeah, for informal wearing, once again, this one I do think is a pretty good option, yet it's actually pretty versatile, so you can try dressing it up a little bit. I don't know if with a tuxedo, though, I would really love to smell this on someone like well dressed, right? So Paco Rabanne 1 Million Lucky. Hazelnut is amazing, wonderful note. So next fragrance, which is the 7654. It's a boozy fragrance, and this one is for if you have like a pretty straightforward personality, I would actually recommend this fragrance to you, and it's amazing. It's a compliment getting fragrance. Herrera Chman Prepay. I am quite pleased that I nailed that. Okay, if you purchase a bottle, you will do that pretty often. And okay, this fragrance, as I stated before, is a pretty boozy one. And if you are not if you are not familiar, there you go, with the note of whiskey, is actually a fragrance that might strike you at first as a different one, because, well, that's what actually happened to me. When I first sprayed this fragrance on, it was pretty harsh at the very beginning, but then that whiskey note is actually pretty tamed down in the very development of the fragrance, so it stays somehow linear throughout the evolution of the first atomizations. Yet I do think that the whiskey note here is a pretty suiting one, and let me tell you, the versatility here is not through the roof. Yet the performance in this particular batch, which is 72691, you can look that up on checkfresh.com. I do think it's a 2019 or 2018 or 2020 bottle. It's not the very early formulations, yet I do think the projection and the overall longevity is a pretty good one. You will be actually pleased with this Chman Prepay by Carolina Herrera. So, moving on to the number 3 spot, we have the house of Giorgio Armani, and it is, there you go, Armani Code Profumo. This fragrance has somehow a boozy quality to it, just like Carolina Herrera Chman Prepay. Yet I do think, and well, you can smell it for yourself. This fragrance is pretty sweet. It's a sweet fragrance. I actually the other day tried to level up the number of sprays, and that didn't go quite well because I'm going to say this, it's headache inducing if you spray more than you should, and I do think that 3 or 4 sprays tops is what you should be wearing with Armani Code Profumo. Yet it's a wonderful fragrance, more suited for a serious guy, a serious personality, if you will. So, number 3 on this list, Armani Code Profumo. Number 2 spot is a pretty amazing fragrance to my eyes, and it's going to be suited more for formal or dress-up occasions, and this one is Dior Intense. I'm not going to say anything that has not been said about this fragrance. It's a fragrance that smells lipsticky, and the iris is just to die for. It's wonderful. It's blended. It's blended splendidly. There you go. And it has that Dior quality, which, okay, let's face it. If someone asks you what fragrance are you wearing, and you say Dior Intense, you're going to be pretty. It's pretty rare to, at least here in my country, to encounter someone who's wearing this kind of fragrances. So Dior Intense, number 2 spot, wonderful fragrance. Though it's a little bit feminine, if you will, but that shouldn't make you turn your back on this fragrance. You should not sleep on it. Number 2 spot. And for my number 1 spot, this is the most expensive fragrance on the list. It's called Tom Ford Noir Extreme. And this one is Yves Saint Laurent La Nuit de l'Homme. It's in that ballpark, yet it's better blended. The ingredients are, you can notice at first smell that this is not so synthetic. It's actually pretty well blended as the number 2 spot, the Dior Intense, but I do think this has that Tom Ford quality to it. And of course, this fragrance is going to project and last and last and last. It's wonderful. I love it. It's a gourmand fragrance. It has this vanilla that is just wonderful. So there you go. That's my top 7 fragrances for winter time or colder weather. So if you liked this video, please consider liking it, consider subscribing, and please let your comments down below. If you have any piece of advice for me to up the quality of this, feel free to write it down below. So, it was amazing having you here with me. I'm Mauro Telles, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.